My divine, incredible Christar family. I don't know if you can see how big the smile is on my face today. I am hanging out with one of my favorite people in the universe, my star sister, Becky. I know we have traveled many, 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 many lifetimes together. And it is such a joy to get to share this conversation today. So, first of all, Becky, thank you for agreeing to come on and have this conversation with me today.
Hmm. It's an honor. A true, true honor.
I just want to introduce you to Becky. So, for all of you out there, I know many of you already know her. She is amazing. She is just my sister in this lifetime. But for those of you that have not met Becky, here is a little bit about Becky. She was raised in a place where her first interactions were with nature. Her guidance, knowing, and comfort were all in that field. She learned about healing plants, how to feel the weather, and know when to get inside. She witnessed the seasons changing and the subtleties of the animal behavior. From a young age, she knew she wanted to be part of people's well being. Her path had twists and turns, and today, all that she knows, she shares with those she facilitates with. Her family has been one of her favorite learning spaces. When she met her husband, she knew they would create some potent experiences. Little did they know their children would join with the fun. Their oldest son came into the world needing extra support to be in his body. One of those supports was an open heart surgery. The practices and tools that Becky has gained supported her through physicality and emotional times, helping her to hold the sacred space. With him, her son brings energies that are still mind boggling to some. Her younger son has brought in an energy that will continue to push what is known. So each day is an adventure into the unknown. I love that so much. And yes, I can say they are incredible little beings for sure. I just want to add, Becky, it is so beautiful to hear that with the energy of nature. I know in so many ways we have called you the ambassador of Arizona because I feel like you have actually hiked every square inch of that state as a grid keeper and a grid holder. So it is with so much love. I'm so excited to see where this conversation goes today. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And again, thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Becca. It's so good to be here. And yeah, yeah, just to share the sacred space for sure.
Well, one of the ways I love to start out the conversation is just for us to all get to know each other through our own first journey into this lifetime. Even if we've traveled together for lifetimes, it's sometimes good, like, what'd you choose this time? What was your entrance in this time? So, just out of curiosity, in this incarnation, in this lifetime, what was your experience in this lifetime that you came into? And what was it that you first started to kind of be your awakening or your nudge to something deeper within the cosmic fields?
Really, truly, it's that mountain space, right? Like when I go, it's sort of like, oh, well, it was when I was in my 20s, right? But then it's like, no, 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 there was a relearning that happened in the 20s, but that first was really coming in very, very young, going, okay, I'm going to be a nurse. I know, it's like I've got, the mountain, there's going to be nature, like having where I'm at. The reason it's so dark, I'm actually facing the north of the land and I'm in a creek bed. So the sun is coming up over the mountain and it hasn't even crested where we're at yet. I can see it in the front of me on the north side, but to the south of us, like it's just a hillside and pine trees and juniper trees. So knowing that I need to be in that, right? It's not just a part of, but it's like really truly being in the earth. And being in nature is where I find that strength as well as the safety to explore. So I think very early on it was like, okay, here we are, right? And then being out in the world, like I said, there was sort of the overlay of things that were maybe the false truths, realizing like I didn't fit in very, like, I mean, immediately did not fit in. And so part of my path was learning how to be okay with not fitting in, being okay, like, I know we're working with the architects. It's like finding all those roles, bringing them to the forefront, asking if we want that energy to be where we're making the decisions. And one of those was that um, being seen. That's really frightening, right? Because it was so abnormal of what my experience was before kind of entering into society. I guess it's the best way I can put it. So yeah. So I think early on I knew that there was that purpose was already set, and then it was like how to navigate it in the 3D.
That's always
And
the
so that's
challenge, right?
right. Like I have very vivid dream memories. And I have when I was like 4, I guess, I have very vivid memories when I was 2. And they weren't like some had a little bit more of a charge, but they're very calm as well. So it's like there was a already knowing that I needed to remember. Right. So it's sort of like, okay, you need to have the elephant's memory. Let's start remembering and let's like anchor into what's truly real so that that way the game of this 3D didn't need to take um, it didn't need to overrun, I
Mhm.
guess is the best way I can put that.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm curious, like, because I know you're talking about dreams. So when you were a kid, were you like just like a dreamer? Like you could remember your dreams?
It was interesting. So I decided to fill out the client form because why not? I don't know if I did already, but I was going to do it again. And it was so neat. There was a question about that. Like, do I have memories of my dreams? And I remember swimming. That was one of the ones, going under the water and being in the water and holding my breath. And, science says, well, I might have had sleep apnea as a child. I was probably holding my breath. But then like being able to breathe again in that dream. And so I think I was like 6 and 7 when I would have those dreams. But what was so magical about that was there wasn't fear, right? It was just sort of like, I'm underwater, and in this form, I can't breathe underwater. But then it was sort of like, but I'm in a dream, so can't I breathe? And then it was like, take on another form. And so in the dream, I wouldn't see my form change, but I knew that I could breathe underwater. So yeah, so that was really, I remember a few of those, and then remembering about meeting with people who had already passed on, getting to be with them, and that's continued to get more and more potent as I've grown. But yeah. So I'm
Yeah.
dreaming about the animals too.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah, the dream realm is so special. And it's like I find, it's always interesting to connect with others that had such vivid dreams as a child, because I'm sure like for myself, I can still vividly remember so many of my dreams that I had, and I can imagine you can
Yeah,
as
yeah.
well, just how you describe them.
And those nightmares too, I was so grateful that we've talked about those as well, like what we would deem as nightmares, where people are trying to take you away and having those visceral responses to that. I think that that's important to share too. It's like those were as potent as, the other ones in that sense that it was like finding that way to go, no, this doesn't work. Let's, change that timeline within the dream. Um, yeah, yeah. So yeah, when coming into the group, it was like, oh, these are my people. Like they know about their dreams because I try to share my dream and people would be like, whoa, like what'd you take before you went to bed?
For
And
real.
it, and you know me, I'm a lightweight, and histamines can get me. So
I gotta say, one thing I want to highlight, just because the guides were just like ringing through when you were talking about it, was about the water. And
Mhm.
it's really interesting because as soon as you were talking about it, I almost couldn't hear you anymore. They got really loud ringing. I was like, oh my gosh, like just a really potent energy. And I find that there's certain individuals that really had a lot of significant dreams around water. And I always smile because that's something I definitely had a connection to as well. And I think there's something so much deeper to that, especially with even the things that are opening up within the oceans right now. So I don't know. We're gonna keep seeing where this water energy goes, right?
Right? Especially being in the desert, that we haven't had a lot of the I'll call it the air precipitation,
Mhm.
but it's interesting because I can feel the land and it's dusty, but there's water, right? Like I wished I could put more to that, but yeah, like if you look at our airfall, like rain or snow, we haven't had a lot, and yet there's feels like there's an upwell. And so I'm very curious about that with the desert. So yeah.
Yeah, and I, even in especially Arizona, New Mexico, even um I would say even Utah area a little bit. There's definitely a feel of there's so much under.
Under, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I
for
always
sure.
keep tabs with you. I'm like, what's going on? Because I know the Grand Canyon's going to be a big,
Right?
big energy. So I'd love to kind of touch into that because I know it's like you're sharing, even in growing up, there was just, and I can even feel the emotion that's still within there of like realizing very young on that you didn't fit in. And I think that's something so many of us have experienced on such a deep level. But curious, I know the connection to nature and that connection to that sensitivity to that realm. I'd love to know a little bit more about like what comes back to you as those memories of like where you kind of had that knowing that it was something really special. And then also curious, did you have people around you that were supporting that, or was that just kind of
Yeah.
you having to hold that on your own?
No, I think that I feel like where I'm at today is because of the people who were around me. So my dad worked with the land. He was a firefighter for the Forest Service. So there was a lot of that. The people that were there, they had a connection, right? And then like with my dad, he has a relationship with fire, and it's really, really amazing to get to witness him when he's working with fire because you can see he's communicating with the fire and the fire is communicating with him. And so it's really like I get the little God bumps, when I talk about that. So his colleagues, there was an interest in that. So they might have not had it as consciously, but there was that energetic holding. So they held that. So I had we'll call it the kind of the masculine energy of that. Then there were the mothers, and the mothers, they were the ones that were there was a woman that was across the road who tended to a garden, and she's a Buddhist nun, and had actually she would go to oh no, she would go to, is it Bhutan? She would go to Bhutan. Bhutan, she would go and she would go be with the nuns over there. And so there was, like here she was, and she was just living her life. And then there was another woman who, she had a garden on her land where, it was like, I remember going and she would just everything off and she would just be out there watering her garden. And it was just like, so I had these like mothers, right? These women that were just so connected to who they were
Yeah.
and they're right that it was like they scared me. I won't deny that, but they knew that, right? So it was like, okay, they could at least role model that. And my mom, she did as well. Hers was different, but she would kind of put us into those situations where at least it was there. I remember cutting my foot, and another woman, she was into the medicines of the plants, and she gave me my first introduction to beeswax, honey, camphor salve. So it was all edible, but I could put it on my skin, and I didn't need to probably could have gotten stitches, but financially, right? And we had beeswax, so so yeah, so I feel really, really lucky or blessed, or that was part of that energetic where it was like this is part of like don't forget, like this is where you just keep remembering this is where you're at. So and they were sort of on the outskirts too. I remember, it was that, but they didn't, they just held fast. So I think it really helped me to see that even if they didn't fit in necessarily, they were still very successful in what they did. And I'm in communication with a few of those people. Especially the women that after my mom passed, a few of them have really sort of entered in as that periphery of continuing to hold the container so I can bounce if I need to. So,
That's
yeah.
so beautiful. And, even as you say that, that kind of just shines a little light. just kind of Bhutan, because I don't know if you traveled to Bhutan, but I know you did Nepal, so pretty
Yeah.
close within there, and we'll get to that for sure.
Yeah, I didn't make it all the way up there.
Yeah, for sure. But that's beautiful. And just, even to speak this out again, I mean, it's like you chose to enter into this reality literally at a grid point of the gateway to the Grand Canyon.
Yes.
And so your dad is very special. I can smile with that. And even having gotten the opportunity to see him in his element, he does. He kind of lights up like a little kid when he's playing with fire. And just that opportunity to be on such a sacred land grid, and I've always just seen you as such an ambassador and a caretaker of that land. And I feel it's like north to south, man. You got that whole line taken care of. So just out of curiosity, as started moving, you mentioned that you started to kind of get into some of the traditional, and I'm assuming that's maybe more the educational path, but what started to impulse you, and I might even leap forward a little bit to, because I know you went through university, you were going through education through school. And I just want to speak out there to all of our listeners. Becky and I have known each other since our early 20s. And this is going to be fun to get into this a little bit, and I'm just curious, after going through that education and the things that you were interested in, what started to nudge at your soul and impulse your soul to choose to go to Hawaii?
Okay, so yeah, education. So this is where it's interesting with my mom. My mom had an overlay of, well, I guess both mom and dad have an overlay of education. Dad's was a little different, but his mom had gone to school. She wanted to be an artist, and at the time, women could not be artists. They weren't to be classically trained as artists. They could be teachers. So my grandmother decided to get a teaching degree in art, but she is, and so this is my paternal grandmother. So she is truly an artist, or yeah, in this lifetime. And she also wanted to be a minister. So she had that sort of education piece. My mom, so her mom was also an artist and she was a musician. And somehow being, oh, and that was the other thing, they're coming from different coasts. So my dad's mom was on the West Coast and my mom's mom is on the East Coast. So I guess on the East Coast, there was a little bit more of that classically training. So she was able to go to school to be an artist. And so but my grandfather, he was an educator. And there was a big deal about that. And my mom really, and then she became an educator. So when I went into to college, so it was sort of like this. I think at 5, I declared I wanted to be a nurse. And what we know now is that I just didn't have another word. I knew the role that I wanted. I wanted to support people, and yeah, so I didn't know this, but um, I was going to be a nurse. So all the way through elementary, middle school, into high school, I knew I wanted to be a nurse. So all of my education through that, I would take chemistry classes, as much anatomy as I could, biology that I could. And so it was all about that. Now, mind you, though, here I am. I'm like that little, like, what is it? The heart or the little heart with the arms. I can't do anything, but I'm gonna love you. So I'm going around the whole school, the whole community, anywhere I could go, and I'm like wanting to give hugs to everybody too. So, right, you put that together and it's classic. And then I got into college, and that's when the doors started shutting, right? So all the way up into that, like there was so much support for this nursing. I was getting scholarships to go to university. I was finding universities that are and colleges that I really liked. I had this nursing path. I'm going. And all of a sudden the curriculum would change and I'd have to add a class or I have to wait a semester or I'd miss mail by like a week, a deadline. And that's when that starts clicking. I'm like, wait a second, what's happening? But I'm still sort of a know-it-all 20-year-old, so 19-year-old. I'm still going to be a nurse, dang it. And and the last bit was my grandfather had passed away and had I didn't know this. He had left my mom a little bit of money. My mom was saving that money so when she got her master's, she could go on a trip and she wanted to go to Europe. So all of you who are over in that land, my mom really had a connection. She really, really wanted to go and see that. And none of her friends could go. And she said, Becky, will you come with me? So I had to make a choice in that moment. If I stayed over the summer, there was a potential for me to be on, like, get into the nursing program, only a chance, or I could go travel with my mom. And so I was like, okay, all right, I'm gonna go be with my mom because that loyalty to family. And then of course now we know about the travel. I didn't know about that then. I was still sort of landlocked at that time of I'm a grid holder, I guess. So yeah. So I gave up the chance to be a nurse. And in that moment I met somebody, a roommate in college, and she was like, hey Becky, I see you struggling. I have a curiosity. Will you play with me? And we started to sort of distill what it was about the nursing that I really liked. And that was part of it too, is that my essay about being a nurse, there's no way they would have brought me into the nursing program
Oh,
because it was all about witnessing people. It was all about being with people. It was all about, I'm going to get teary-eyed, Becca. It was all about holding holding the sacred space of whatever they were experiencing. And what we know, there's some amazing nurses that get to do that. I would not be able to do that the same way. That was the other thing is I happened to be going up towards the hospital and I saw these women who were so drawn and they were smoking cigarettes and they were just their bodies were filled and it was like that's not where I need to be. Like I want to keep people out of that space and vital so they don't have to go into the hospital. And then realizing too, because I'm a heart with little arms, that people wouldn't want to be around me, right? They don't want to be around a nurse. So I was like, all right. And she said, it sounds like maybe, naturopaths or so some type of alternative doctor of some sort, or there was something else. And so at that time, that's when I started to shift. And then I needed to make money to do that. So I thought, well, maybe I could become a massage therapist to help support that dream. And was going to go to a school here. And there was a woman who was part of the family circle. And she said, hey, my daughter just graduated from a school on Maui. Maybe you should go check it out. And I ended up meeting somebody that Becca knew. And I heard her name, but there was no way that we would find each other. And lo and behold, the first day of massage school, there we are.
oh my gosh. If I could find that friend in Europe, I'd give him a hug because I just would be like, oh, the angels were definitely speaking through because that's what I feel about our life. Like from the moment we first met, it felt like literally like it was meant to happen in this
Yeah.
lifetime. And even just to say this to individual, first of all, we were the Rebeccas in class, right? It's a little young 20-year-olds troublemakers in the class is giggling all the time. As you can see, we can't even keep a smile off our face talking now as grown-ups.
Right,
But
right.
it was just everything, like Becky's saying. She was connected to the was it the mother of my oldest son's,
Uh,
or was
Stepmom,
it
maybe? Yeah, so I would go and house sit for the husband and wife, and I think it's dad, and then his
oh her,
second
yeah,
wife.
his
Yeah,
follow, yeah. So it was already immediately kind of like, who. And even to this day I have to smile because we both have two boys. Our two boys actually have almost the exact identical birthdays. One of them is exactly the same identical birthday. The other one is only like, I think,
a
4
week
days
off.
apart,
Yeah,
something like that. So it always makes me smile to just kind of see these little connections and how it led up to that. And as you, I'll let you keep going with the story of Maui, but it's like that's so beautiful to even get to hear it from this perspective. That's that love in your heart that you had for being such a guide and a help for others. And I remember that from the very first day. I was like, oh, Becky's the better half of me, man. It's like you were just like always heart and love. And that's just what I remember from the very beginning. And it was just so amazing. So, massage, obviously, it was such an adventure to get to dive into that. What did that really open for you, especially even being, I mean, it's a big change, especially Arizona to Maui. What was that experience for you?
Yeah, yeah. Well, it was one of those, so there were so many it was almost as how right now there's that feel of dismantling who we are, right?
Mm.
So I'm there's a seriousness about being sort of landlocked here. Up until that trip with my mom, there was a very much like, okay, this is where my roots are, this is where I need to be, this is, I'm going to do this. And I knew of the world outside, but it wasn't there wasn't permission, right? Like it was sort of like I hadn't gained permission to leave yet. And so there was this pressure cooker right before I came to Maui of, I had a boyfriend and I think we were even engaged. I who knows. And it was like, and there was that dismantling, right? Like everything, like he realizing that, oh yeah, this purpose, this part of me that was untamable, right? Like I think I had a facade that I was tamed, and that was just not true. So I had learned about energies. I did go through Reiki training when I was very fresh out of high school, going into college. It was a gift from my parents, which is really cool. They knew that if I was going to be a nurse, I needed to have some way to support people. And they felt like that would be a really great way. And they had both been attuned before, so they both knew about the energies. And then they said, okay, it's your turn. So then coming to Maui and doing the massage, so it was sort of like this, okay, like I finally gained that permission. So when I came to Maui, I guess I came in the spring. Trying to remember the timeline of when I came to visit. It was like, oh, there was a similarity in the energies that it was like that portal was open. Like it was like, okay, I can come here. I have permission to be here. And it was like without knowing it, knowing that there was something that I would learn, but there was also something I was gifting. I don't know. I still don't know if I can put that into words of what the gift was. But when it was done, it was done. So yeah, so massage was giving me Reiki. Um, so part of being in a small town, for me, I was also seeking spirituality. And I didn't know that land could be my spirituality because there were churches. And so churches were where you had to go find spirituality, right? And I think there's as many churches as there are hotels in Williams. So I think I visited most of them, and one of them was not very supportive. And when I shared that I was, I think I don't even know that I was doing Reiki yet, but I was sharing and was told that it was devil's work, and uh, and that really frightened me that there could be that much fear around it. So when I came into massage school, it gave me permission again to touch, to use those energies in a way that would be more credentialed, I guess. So, yeah, so it's kind of, and it's so interesting because it's still sort of like the segue. It even isn't what I do today, but yeah, it was another one of those sort of permissions. So Maui gave me a lot of permission.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's like for those that have allowed themselves to travel to different locations, every location, I think there's a lot of places that people can travel away from home. That is your heart opening, it's your healing place. And, I feel really honored that ours got to be the same place, right? It's like that energy of Maui. Definitely, I always said it's gonna take your heart, it's gonna scrub it, it's gonna open it. It's its only goal is to open your heart. And of course, I got a smile, the little heart with the little heart, little heart with little arms, right? And I'm sitting here in my mind going like, oh, that's where Liam gets that from. Oh, because now that's your oldest son. He just wants to hug everybody for sure. So,
Everybody.
and so massage, obviously, and that was something that I admired and loved about you so much, even going through that training. Because I know, like in my process, I dove into it. That became like right out the gate my career. I let that be the bread and butter for how I took care of the family. And I know you had such your own unique. There was a part of you that I knew was taking it in more for something bigger. And as you started to recognize what that was a foundation for, I'd love for you to even share some of the modalities you really started to dive into because I think it's so amazing the energy work that you do.
Yeah, yeah. So, with well, yeah, what I love about massage school, right? It was like, oh, you're not good at all. And I was like, oh, okay. Oh, and so what I realized, right, is that I have to fire myself as a massage therapist daily, because there is there's sort of this idea of what a massage therapist does, and for some reason, yeah, I don't do that. And maybe it is because of the energies, and it's that subtleness, right? I had a Vietnam vet. He got off my table and he goes, "Whoa, I don't know what you did." But I've never had somebody work with me the way you did and go in like you did, because it wasn't deep, but I'm different. Oh, okay. And so with the work that I do, what I realize is that there is the aspect of sort of supporting the tissue, manipulating the tissue, and things like that. There's also that, like, well, what about the nerves, right? So now, what I'm working with a lot is the scar tissue. So knowing that even if we prepare for a surgery or we're preparing, our body is still going to go through that trauma, and so there's a story that can be held in those scars, and then supporting that opening so that that way the story can move through. Right? You're always you're one of my greatest voices of like letting our feelings go through. It's sort of that same thing. It's like we kind of need to let the scars be open so that that energy can move through. Um, and then you figure with a traumatic scar, there's going to be a whole other part to it. So, uh, supporting, and that's the thing is sometimes people come in, they're going, "You're not going to hurt me, right?" And it's like, no. So one of the first instructors that we had, I remember her saying, "Find the softness and let that grow." And my big heart with the little arms, I was like, "Oh yeah, yeah, yeah." Can do that. I can do that. Let's go find it. And so it's so funny because I that is how I work. It's like I go and find like there'll be that really hard spot on somebody and I'll go, I'm not gonna touch that. But then I'll like go off to the side and I'll go, oh, this is nice and squishy. And then like let's make it nice and squishy all the way through. So um and then the other thing too is maybe it's part of early on having things pushed into me, information pushed into me, energies pushed into me, thought forms pushed into me, that when I'm working with somebody it's like, wait, where is this person, like can we let them expand and then meet that so that that way they can feel supported wherever they are. So a lot of the work that I do when I'm hands on is very much that, like trying to find the outer reaches and then supporting them and then finding a way to maybe invite them back into their body. And then yeah, and then when I'm working with people with same thing with their beliefs and moving through their dreams of desire again, right? It's like wanting to meet somebody where they are, rather than enforcing something or having an agenda for them. It's more just sort of like, where are you finding those softnesses and then bringing that in. I read an article, oh, and it was talking about if we love something, we'll save it. So this was about activism. And I started thinking about that and I was like, oh yeah, if we can let joy be our navigator, um, then we love that, right? Rather than it being a shame based or, that again, that pushing, like agenda pushing. So yeah, yeah. So today there's a lot of that. That's sort of how I get to work and how I get to show up for people who decide that they want to come play. Because I tell people, really truly, you've showed up. We're gonna do work, but it's really play.
And that's yeah, that is so you to a T. And I love that you said, "Oh, I find the squishy spot." I'm like, that's so Becky. I love that. Because it is, and that's I think some of the things that has given you the beauty and the gift that you have is that you've really always seen the bringing the joy, the healing, the softness back, helping people back into their body as play, as just this sense of why does it have to be work, why does it have to be like me trying to pull you through a wall and that kind of thing. And so that's something, I've always admired about you, and you've always helped me anchor within myself, which is just incredible.
Yeah.
So I know we could talk so
Right.
many stories, but one of the things I'd love to have you get to share, because this was to me one of your most profound moments of your path in your life. And I think it was the moment that opened up the doorway to you being one of your greatest gifts on this planet, which is a mother. And I know there was a moment when you were like, "No, I'm done with Maui. I'm leaving." And I was like, "Oh, Becky's leaving." And you were called back to Arizona. And I know there was a bit of time there, but there was something that nudged you before you could really settle in. And you went on one of the most incredible journeys. And you're gonna have to correct me because I forget. It was like months. I feel like you were gone for quite a while. Would you dive into that a little bit, and even what led you into that? Because it was just amazing. So I'll let you tell the story.
Okay, yeah. So it actually goes back to September 11th, 2001. I was in college and I had a professor. So the world was having its experience, and we were having our experience within that experience. And the professor was like, "Hey, we're just gonna," and I think it was a sociology class, and he took us through a visualization, which I think is so cool, right? Like to talk about that, like here I am in this very school nature, and here's this goofy man who's decided to take us through this visualization. And he said, "Okay, um, if you were told that you have a year to live, what would you do?" And it was like, okay. And so I had it, right? I was like, okay, and I was just about to graduate. And I think in December I was going to graduate. So I was like, yeah, well, 3 months. Okay, I can. Oh, Becca. Okay, so then he took us into like 6 months, 3 months, a week, and then a day, and then like 2 minutes. What was so fascinating by that is that everything had to do with travel. So a year, it was like, okay, I'll graduate, but then I'm going to go travel for a while, and I'm going to go see the world, because that permission had been given very, very recently that I could go travel, and I could go expand my horizons. And then all the way until the day, and even then, it was to travel back to my home of origin to go be with my parents. And then that those 2 minutes, it was to go outside and spin around and dance and sing for that quick moment and call my family and tell them I love them. So that was that. Um, Came to Prescott following a guy because I guess that's what a heart with arms does. And the relationship was not meant to be. It crumbled quickly. And I realized one of the things about that relationship was that he had traveled. So there was this idea that we would travel together and that we would do things. And what I realized when we got here, oh, he's an old man and he wants to retire and walk dogs. So that wasn't going to happen. And when the nudge came back as like a force, I needed to, well, and so, but I still hadn't had permission. And so I think I ended up, um it was one of those, again, it was sort of like some other energy came in, there was another energy that came in, and he had his thing, and then that relationship was dissolving very quickly. I started to learn about those overlays, right? And so when that relationship dissolved, it was like, wait a second, what have I not done with my life that I need to do. And that memory waved in and it was like, it's time to travel. And so massage is a really great way to have an excuse. So I thought, okay, let's go to Thailand. Let's check out. And I've always loved Thai massage. I think we had just like a nibbit of it when we were in massage school, and I was like, what is this magic? And so I thought, okay, all right, let's do this. And that was kind of a turn of the sort of a financial piece too, that the economy was having a little bit of a downturn. I had saved my money and was trying to figure out, okay, if I am moving out, I need to find a place to work and to live. And realizing that the rent was way more than what I could bring in to sustain. So I was like, well, what if I take a break? My clients are taking a break. What if I take a break? I'll pack everything up. I'll go do this and take care of this nudge to travel. And yeah, so it took, gosh, it almost took 10 years for me to finally be able to take that trip. And so I didn't know where I was going. I had a friend who she was going away and she said, hey, are you available on Christmas Eve to come house sit in California? And I was like, okay, that's a good day to leave. So I went to her home. I took care of their animal, and then I knew I wanted to come see Becca in Hawaii. So I knew I was coming to see you. And then after that, I think I had Thailand. I knew that I had Thailand, but while I was there on Maui, hanging out with Stone, I think I was like, okay, I need to know. Thailand's telling me I have to leave. So where's my next stop? And I think I decided in Hawaii that I wanted to go to Nepal. And so when I was in Thailand, knew that I needed to leave Nepal. So it was like I had these one-way tickets and I just didn't know where I was going. And so I really let my heart guide me with that. And yeah, I think it ended up been about 9 weeks, so it was like 2 months. Um, and a month in Thailand, and again, almost throwing darts. I had a dream while I was in Thailand of where to go. I couldn't find the word that I was given in my dream, but I found something, and sure enough, it was sort of what we would consider the slums. And the woman who I was with was like, "What are we doing here?" And I was like, "I don't know, but we're here." Let's buy something. And so I bought these little Om bowls and I still have one. I don't know if but yeah, yeah. So it was definitely one of those like, could I trust my heart? Um, because I don't know that I think I kind of wavered a little. And so that trip was again that sort of heart opening and that like I could be solid in my own self. And sure enough, I got back from the trip and within about a year I was married. 2 years I was married. So yeah.
Well, I
Yeah.
think one of the funnest aspects of this, just because your life to me has just been such a divine unfolding, is I do remember you met him right before you left, and you're like, no, I'm going on this trip. If it's meant to be, he will be there when I come back. And I always remember that because you guys are such an incredible couple. The children that you have are so amazing. And so I always think of that of like how you chose to honor, not getting pulled into another relationship, but rather, I'm going to go on this trip. I'm going to absolutely. And I know you blogged your trip the whole way, like you were writing about it. And it was just so awe inspiring to see the places that you went. And I was just so blessed because it's like, that just it to me it was just that moment in your life where you really stepped in to yourself. We have those little moments where we grow up just a little bit. Little bit, right?
But tiny.
Yeah, I love it. It's just so amazing. So, I'd love to dive into the experience because obviously Sean's amazing. Your husband is absolutely incredible, and we were so blessed to even get to come to that wedding and be a part of that with you, and it was so beautiful. And one of the things that just really touched my life is I have such a spot in my heart for your boys and what the journey has been for you as a mother in this lifetime, because I feel like your whole journey of wanting to allow people to have that space within themselves to find themselves again in some ways you literally opened yourself up to take in an angel.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it hasn't been easy for you. It's like there's so many times as a mother myself that I'm just like, oh my gosh, I can't even imagine. Like you said in the intro and the bio of like right out the gate, the first thing you had to be told was he needed open heart surgery. So I want to just kind of dive in. What was that experience for you as you started to step into that next role of realizing you are who you are, but literally the angel that you are literally opened yourself to this next journey. And I feel like since your children have come into this world, you've stepped into a whole new mission and guidance for people on this planet.
Oh, yeah. No, that, it's so interesting because, yeah, Liam's entry, he talk about a heart opener. Holy moly, right? So we kind of joke about it, but there's a depth to it, and that is everything that I have learned has given me the ability to be who I get to be with him,
Mhm.
right? So we joke that he's our spiritual sandpaper. He will find the rough spots and he'll polish them. So if I'm cranky, oh, he'll come and he just scratches it, right? It's like, okay, I gotta fix, like I have to find a way to do this. And he is also, right, he helps me to truly walk the walk. As I was sharing about finding the softness and letting that grow, this is just a real quick example today. He was struggling with school. He was doing some things he shouldn't have been doing, disrespecting his teacher is the best way I can put it. And they were like, okay, we're gonna tell mom and dad, and we have some consequences about some things that he cares about. And he was like, I don't care. He's 10. I don't care, and I was like, oh, that doesn't work anymore, right? So that spiritual sandpaper. Okay, what worked yesterday is not going to work today. And I was kind of at my wit's end and I thought, oh, wait a minute. This isn't going to work for him. Liam's mind doesn't work the way my like others do. It works more like mine. So if I was 10, what would it be? And it was like, oh, motivation. That's the soft, squishy spot, right? So I said, okay, Liam, if you he gets graded each day and kind of has a little number chart. I said, if you can get 14 out of 14, how about this? Why don't I put money into your fund to go to Disneyland? Because he came to me right before he was 10 and he was like, Mom, I want to go to Disneyland. I want to get married and I want an iPhone. And I told him no. And then afterwards, he was like, Mom, I'm 10. I'm getting married. I'm getting an iPhone. I'm going to Disneyland for my honeymoon. You're not invited. So this is my son. Uh, so I was like, okay, look, I'll help pay for it. Because of course, Finn's in the background. You're too young to get married. You can't get married. And then, Mom, he's too young, right? He can't get married. And then, how are you going to pay for it? So he's our logistics man. So I thought, okay, I'll start putting money. Sure enough, the little turkey came home the next day with a 14 out of 14. And I was like, there we go. There's that softness, right? It was like, I found the hard spot. We had found that hard spot. And Liam teaches us, no, go to the, like, it's that tool of like, we have to go to the outside. What is it that he wants? Then we can move in. And sure enough, he's not like, now he comes home and he's like, Mom, I got this, and then he came home or he went to school. Mom, I'm kind of tired. I'm going to get a 12 out of 14. And I said, well, that's great. Because at least he's got, right? He knows now. So that's a current day event. But yeah, it's been 10 years to get to that. So when Liam came into the world, we didn't know anything about Liam, other than we knew he was a boy and by gender, by his organs. And I was home laboring and had been home laboring for quite a while, and something didn't feel right. So I called the midwives. They came and realized that Liam was not doing well. And so rushed to the hospital, needed to have a cesarean. And for those first 27 hours, just touch and go. He was in with us for a while. They took him out. They had to go put him under the light. He had jaundice. All of a sudden, his liver wasn't doing well. We don't know if he's going to make it through the night. They come in and they tell us, and there were women nurses who'd come in. Can we pray for you? And it was like, okay, sure, fine, whatever. And the whole time, you're so correct on that. Sean's been such a rock where even though he was going through his own thing, it was like he could hold that space with me. right? Like, so I didn't feel like I had to hold the situation together. We were doing it together where it was like, okay, and we would have these conversations. Do we take him home? If he's not going to live, if we take him home, can he just pass away with us? Can we make a safe space for him to do that? And then the nurses would and the doctors would come in, well, he's doing a little bit better, and so and mind you, we're in a rural area, so the hospital was not well equipped to have a child who had those needs. And we still didn't know anything about his heart. We did know he had markers for Down syndrome. So that was another thing. So, but one of the doctors had said he had possibly severe brain damage because I didn't come to the hospital early enough. So it was my fault. It was Sean's fault. And so there was that turmoil, right? And so the whole time it was like, thankfully from those dreams, it was like, this doesn't have to be reality. Like I can, I know what I can do. And so it was like quickly doing the processes of like, okay, if I'm stressed, I'm going to respond to that. There's going to be a role that I will play that may not be the most fruitful role, right? So it was like pulling these energies forward and going, okay, let's connect with the emotions, but let's let it drop through. Okay, how do we do this? So it was this continuation of that, and I think it's like somewhere in the middle of the night, they said, you know what, we've done what we can. He needs to be flown to Phoenix, and so that was when we were like, can we take him home? And they said, well, he's not going to make it. And I was like, okay, let us go see him then. So they wheeled me down to the where he was. And this is what I love about Liam because he is a little angel. I put my finger in his hand, and I said, buddy, I don't know what to do. Do we send you down to Phoenix or do we take you home? Because we don't know if you're going to make it. And he squeezed my finger. And I went, Sean, we're going to send him to Phoenix. So they couldn't discharge me right away. So they helicoptered him down because we told him, we were like, well, so let's take him and we'll take him down to Phoenix. And they were like, no, sweetheart, he doesn't have any platelets. Like he can't move. If you get into an accident, he's gone. So we have to helicopter him away. And I was like, well, there we go. He's a rock star already at what, 27 hours. He's going to have his first helicopter ride. And it took me, 20 years to get mine. But so they took him down there, and so we had to figure out how we were going to take care of me. And we got a plan, and they discharged me so I could go be with them. And we went down there, and it was so beautiful because everything shifted, where it was like the doctor came up and he said, hey, we saw the markers that he might have Down syndrome. We don't know anything else. We're going to do everything we can. What you need to do as a mother right now is just love him. And I went, I can do that. That's easy. We can do that. And he said, okay. And then that's when we found out what we needed to find out. And so what I love about that is that since the beginning, Sean and I have to be the adults. And like you said, we grew up just a tiny bit. And so we can't be 4-year-olds raising a 10-year-old, right? Like we have to like find those ways to make a space for him to expand. And then Sean came home. We came home from the hospital. We've just been in the NICU with Liam for 10 days. And he goes, you want to have another kid? I was like, we just and I said, Sean. And I knew very little about Down syndrome. I didn't know much. And I said, how about this? When he starts to walk, we'll talk about having another child because I don't know that I can double fist kids. Like I just don't know that I can do that. And he said, okay, yeah, that works. And sure enough, I think Liam started walking and probably the next weekend we conceived Finn. So
Oh wow, he remembered.
yeah, he did.
He's like, I'm
No,
holding you to that, Becky.
yeah, but that was what was so funny is, and I think we got home from the hospital, and Finn had it also kind of a tumultuous entry into the world, not as severe, but still a bit where it's like, okay, this whole thing about being a mom, like I might be better being an auntie. So, but we got home with him and Finn. Sean said the same thing. He's like, "Now I got two. Should we have a third one?" And I was like, "We just got from the hospital. Wait." So I told him, I said, "Look, Liam has to be potty trained and Finn has to be walking." And Finn decided to start walking at like I don't know, 10 months old, and I was like, "What?" So by the time that they were potty trained, Sean realized that he was going to pull his hair out. He was done having babies.
Oh my gosh.
So now we just borrow friends' babies.
There you go. I love it. Yeah, it's been amazing to see the dynamic because I know you guys went through a lot of challenges with Liam, even with getting him to eat. Eating
Yeah.
was a huge challenge. Just a lot of different things for him. And but through the whole process and all the hospital visits that you had to keep going in and out, all I saw was that boy made everybody smile. And to this day, I cannot even like think of him or talk to him or about like bring him up without smiling because he's just my little buddy, man. He's just that's what he does. And I'll never forget the day that we were talking on the phone and you were like, I got a talking to from the teacher because Liam's hugging everybody. And the teacher is trying to tell me it's not acceptable that he's hugging everybody. And to this day, just the smiles of the experiences that you've gone through, but also the wisdom that you've gained, through how like the decisions you've made medically for him, how to, like you were saying, even parent him through things because he does have his own mind. If he's gonna do something, good luck. Oh, I think he just walked by. Or is that
That
Finn?
one was Finn, yeah.
And so it's just amazing, in that. And to this day I keep holding this out there because I know you did start, I think, a blog for a while where you were sharing and supporting with other mothers that were also raising their children, and also just being that complete advocate of so blessed for being able to be a parent of a child with Down syndrome because I feel like they're just a heart, walking heart that knows what they want. And that boy has wanted to be married since he could talk. I could swear that
Yeah.
he's just a little lover. He's ready to get married. I'm like, oh my gosh, boy. But the thing that I thought was so beautiful too was when Finn came in, I felt like Finn came in to help in some ways. And even though he's a little brother, he came in some ways to be the big brother for Liam and helped him really once Finn came and started really physically doing like walking, running, all of those different things. It gave Liam that opportunity to break out of really all the 100% attention he was getting because again he had nurses, he had you, he had me, he had everybody in his reality was just like, how can I help you, how can I help you? And Finn came in and was just like, dude, let's be bros. It's time to be just a dude.
So true. It's so true. And it is. It's like the two of them, when you get them together, there's this really neat way that they interact where, yeah, Liam is that heart and Finn is such he's that engineer. He's working. He's got things like how to make things work. And he's curious about love, but he's not, it's like he's not as interested, but he's kind of like, well, maybe that would be okay, right? And then, you watch him with his friends and he knows his friends because of the way they treat Liam. Like right now, we have a buddy over at one of Finn's, and I know that Finn is safe with him because he's safe with Liam, right? Like he's invited him because of he knows that even in an 8-year-old mind, there's a package deal away. So I think you're right, where yeah, I've been curiously watching how they interact and um trying to let Finn be that little brother when he needs to be the little brother, and making, giving Liam that guidance of like, dude, you're the older brother. Like you gotta buck up and support him because he's gonna need that, So you're right. Yeah, they've got some really fabulous ways that their relationship is growing, both as boys and as brothers. So it's exciting.
Love it. Oh
Always an
my.
adventure.
They make me smile so much. And again, just the recognition of just I feel the shining light and the gift that you are. I just feel like just in your path of being the title of mother, it really has given you such an opportunity to be such a way shower, someone that has opened up the path for how to maybe navigate things in a whole new way. And I really truly feel you are someone who is just, again, a path cutter, a way shower for how to raise little star beings on this planet. So I see you, Becky. You are amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
So
Mhm.
one of the things, is I know we could probably talk for hours, and sometimes we do.
Yes, we do.
Is it's just as you get to think on all the things that, even sometimes hearing yourself get to share some of your experiences in the path that you've been on in this lifetime. What would be something you would want to share with those that are listening today?
It goes back to that find what lights you up, right? Like find your joy because that's where you get to make the difference. I think, Becca, you and I have talked about that and you've helped me with that. It's like, go back to that. Like we have, sometimes there is that seriousness, right? We have bills, right? We have kids. And it's like, well, wait, well, what about the joy? Because I feel like when I'm the best mom, when I'm the best facilitator, when I'm the best friend, is when I come to it from that space of that childlike wonder, that curiosity. Well, what's this like? Who are you today, Becca? How do we get to play together today? Because you might be different from the last time we talked, right? And then same thing with the boys. It's like waking up in the morning going, first off, who's the man that's next to me, right? Because he's changed. He's had different dreams. And then, it's like, what are his dreams today? Like, what are his desires today rather than what did he actually dream last night? Same thing with the boys. It's like, man, they grow, right? So it's like that curiosity. And then that way there's that, okay, let's create joy. I feel like, yeah, if you can find that. And if you can't find that in your own self, find someone who's willing, right? Like, I feel like we're sort of, most of us on the Telegram, most of us in the architects group, most of us that are in the flamethrowers, there's some type of curiosity about play, right? We're coming together with that. I don't know that we would be together if we didn't have that. So, yeah, keep cultivating joy.
Yes, I love that. Excuse me, for sure. Oh, Becky, thank you so much for sharing this conversation with me today and letting it be a gift for those that get to hear this conversation. And to everyone listening, take what resonates and find the soft spots in life and let the softness grow. Find the joy, find the happiness, and really realize that life is such a miracle. Life is such a gift. And what is that calling that you've had in your heart, and how can you be that greatest gift of embellishing that joy within yourself to let yourself be that experience? So with so much love to everyone for watching today, thank you so much. And Becky, again, thank you so much for just being my sister.
Oh, it's an honor and a privilege. I feel like, yeah, we worked hard to get to be able to continue to play.
For sure. So much love. Thank you, everyone.